What's up, it's Cinema Shogun here, and earlier today, Bryan Kohberger made his first appearance in court. But shortly before his appearance, his parents and his family members released a statement basically saying that they believe Bryan is innocent and they believe that law enforcement got the wrong guy. In this video, we will go over those possibilities, as well as we will go through some details about Bryan's arrest. But first, I think it's important to note that Bryan's family is not to blame for what Bryan did. It's being reported that they are in a state of shock, and we don't have any reason as of right now to believe that they know anything. Now, in my opinion, I've gone over this multiple times already. I believe that that trip that Bryan took with his father is really fishy. But I don't necessarily think that his father has anything to do with that. I believe that Bryan had some type of motive for as to why he traveled this way. I believe Bryan maybe came up with some sort of excuse, manipulated his parents into having this arrangement to where Bryan would drive and his father would come along for the trip and all of that. I believe that there's something definitely weird about that. But I do not think his family is to blame for anything. Now, they believe Bryan to be innocent. I mean, I think that obviously a family is going to say something like that. Also, it's sometimes hard for a family to spot out certain red flags with their own family members, but I can guarantee you all that as they sit back, that they could maybe think of some things, some interesting signs in the past, maybe weird things that Bryan did. Maybe, in their own minds, they will be able to figure out if there were signs that, led to Bryan being the type of person that was capable of doing something like this. But we've seen Bryan arrive to court. We've seen Bryan leave court. I want to show you all Bryan's family arriving at court earlier today. It was reported that when Bryan entered the courtroom, he made eye contact with his family and he simply nodded his head. That is all. And in my opinion, I don't want to read into that too much, but I think it just kind of shows where Bryan is mentally. I don't think that that's necessarily the actions of an innocent person. But I don't think that says that Bryan is guilty. I just find it interesting that he's calm, cool, doesn't say a word, just looks at his family, doesn't wave, none of that, just simply nods his head to acknowledge that they were there. Now, as we talked about at the beginning of this video, Bryan's family says that they believe Bryan to be innocent, that Bryan isn't capable of doing something like this, that there's no signs that Bryan would do something like this, and they believe law enforcement has the wrong guy. In this world, anything is possible. Also, we live in a country where it's innocent until proven guilty. Is there a possibility that Bryan is the wrong guy? Sure, that's possible. I would not sit here before you all today and deny that possibility. However, we have to look at the details. We have to look at the facts. Fact of the matter is, Bryan's vehicle, or a vehicle the same as Bryan's, was seen leaving the scene of this crime. That right there is not enough to say that Bryan is guilty, but that is enough to make you start connecting the dots. But to take it one step further, and this is the biggest detail of all, it's been reported that they found DNA. I don't want to go into details about that because the reports are all over the place. I want to wait for more official information before we go into all of those details because I don't want to sit here and give you the wrong information. But DNA is involved in how they caught Bryan. That right there is hard evidence. Hard evidence. If they got Bryan's DNA at this crime scene, are Bryan's DNA on... Like I said, I don't want to go over the specifics. I don't want to go into details. But that's kind of hard to deny. You got the same vehicle that was seen leaving the crime, and your DNA is at the crime scene. Or at least it appears at this moment that your DNA was at the crime scene. Because it's been reported that through DNA, they tied Bryan to this crime. How they did that, that remains to be unclear. So while there's a possibility that Bryan could be the wrong guy, I don't think law enforcement would have made this arrest if they didn't have all of their ducks in a row. There's a reason why it took so long for them to make this arrest. They didn't start looking at Bryan the day before they got him. I think they had Bryan in mind for a little while. I think they were connecting the dots well before we knew. But in the days leading to Bryan's arrest, you could tell there was a difference in the choice of words and in some of the body language and the way people were talking and acting, if you really go back and look at it. But my question is this. Why did they allow Bryan to drive all the way to Pennsylvania before they made the arrest? Were they waiting on some results to come back from a lab? And it just so happened that it came back once Bryan was already across the country. We know they were following him the whole way. Or did they collect some type of evidence along the way? That's what I want to know. Like, was there a secret agent hiding in the garbage can? Bryan walks out of the Circle K, getting gas, got a little coffee, drinks it, throws it in the garbage can. And the FBI agents go, yeah, we got him now. You know what I mean? Like, why not go ahead and take Bryan in before this trip? In my mind, that tells me something must have happened either along the way or some results came in, some test results, something came in, while he was on this trip. Or, we know they were watching him in Pennsylvania. We know that they were watching him at the grocery store and stuff. I just want to know, why did they wait until that specific moment? Was there a reason as to why they waited? And if there was anything that they collected along the way while they were tailing him across the country, were they possibly going to wait even longer before they zeroed in on Bryan? Were they waiting to collect more evidence? But then they felt like they had to go ahead and move in on him now because maybe they thought Bryan may try to make a run for it. Maybe they were getting nervous because Bryan was already all the way across the country. Maybe they felt like they needed to act quick. Or maybe, this is also a possibility. I don't think this is the case, but it's a possibility that maybe they thought that Bryan was going to commit another one of these acts. Maybe that's why. We don't know. We may never know. But I believe there's a reason why they didn't arrest Bryan in Idaho and they waited until he got to Pennsylvania. And I wonder if while they're watching this guy, they're watching Bryan, if they noticed any weird activities. Did they notice him purchasing anything that may lead them to believe that Bryan was thinking of doing something crazy to someone in Pennsylvania? Was Bryan following someone? I would love to know those details. But at the very least, like I've stated, I do not think that there's really a strong possibility that at all that Bryan is innocent. I fully believe that law enforcement has their guy, and if they got DNA like it's being reported, then that's really hard to fight, and that's hard to deny. That is solid evidence. But let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. While you're down there, hit that thumbs up button, hit that subscribe button, ring the notification bell, and I'll talk to you all in the next video.